Okay, next question. Have you ever had a chick, an eaglet, jump from the nest when you appear? Yes. And oh, I don't like that. That's something that I always try to avoid. And no matter what you do, sometimes it occurs. And the way that we get around having this happen is we try to go into the nest when the birds are a certain age. 8 weeks, we go in on the Catalina and the other Channel Islands nest at 8 weeks when the chicks are that age, and that's great for our analysis of the blood, but it's old for these birds. They're really starting to get mobile. They're starting to get more aggressive, and we have had a couple situations where they have jumped off the nest. And last year on the Pelican Harbor nest, we had this occur, and I think it was captured on the nest cam that was there, and I think they called this bird Marcus. And Marcus, as soon as I was climbing up the tree, Marcus was ready to go. There was no stopping him. But it's something that we really work to avoid. And part of that is just technique of getting in, being calm, moving very slowly, deliberately, and you hope for the best. But sometimes it happens. Most of the time, they'll glide to the ground. You can pick them up, do what you need to do, and then put them right back in the nest after you've banded and tagged. But there are occasions where injuries have occurred, and it's a very unfortunate thing. But we have measures to take care and rehab those birds, but it's to be avoided at all costs. All right, next question. Ooh. Not sure. Oh, okay, there's a question. The next question is about the prey items that come into the nest and the odor in the nest. Do the birds smell? Do the birds have an odor? And yes, they do. And for the most part, I would say bald eagle nests are relatively clean compared to some other birds. Raven nests, they're really nasty. I mean, there's feces everywhere, and they're just not a very tidy bird. But bald eagle, they're okay, but it still smells. And the smell it sort of smells like shrimp. That's the best way to describe it. The chicks themselves don't really have an odor, but what happens is, as the parents bring in prey, most of it gets consumed, but the bones and some of the remains are just up there. And if the parents are in a very productive site, they may be bringing in more than the chicks can eat or the adults can eat. And so, on occasion, you'll have nests get stacked with prey items. And yeah, they start to rot, and it can be pretty nasty. And you'll find fly larvae, maggots, and it can be quite stinky. But sometimes it just varies. If you're climbing into a nest and the territory isn't super productive and there's not an overabundance of food, you'll often find that the nests are fairly clean and they don't smell that bad. Have you ever fallen from a tree when climbing? I wish I could say no, but I've never fallen that far. I did have an incident once where I fell about 10 feet, and it was a pretty controlled situation, but I was setting a rope in a tree, and the branch that I had set over cracked, and it shed the rope to the next branch. And it allowed me just to fall. I landed on my butt. It was no big deal. But for the stick that I fell on that stabbed me in the back. And that was the one real injury I've had climbing. I broke a couple ribs and bled quite a bit, but I got up, just kept working, and that's why we have safety equipment on. But for the most part, falling is not an option. Yeah, you got to be safe, and I don't want to fall out of a tree. That would hurt.